This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
Welcome to Check Bags and Big Tags, the no-filter, no-holds-barred podcast where we spill the truth about globetrotting and style. Buckle up, it's time to see the world differently. Welcome to Check Bags and Big Tags. I'm Ilisa Oman of One World Family Travel, here with Mouttet of Gallivant Luxury Travel. We have a lot to talk about today, so just when we think travel has sort of stabilized with TSA, getting paid, something new pops up. And today, it's fuel. So how you doing,
Yeah,
Sean?
fuel prices. I'm feeling the price at the pump right here locally. So
Mhm.
I know that this is something that's going to filter down to aviation fuel, which will then affect the cost of airline tickets. And then we also have fuel costs for cruises, So it's going to start to affect pricing on a lot of travel products
Yeah, and we're seeing
going forward.
yesterday gas here was $3.99 in the morning, and then it went up 20 cents by the afternoon.
Yeah,
So
I've seen it 425 today driving around. Some of the gas stations that probably still have their tanks full from the prior week are like 399.
mhm.
But it's crazy. Like I
Yeah,
drive a little Jetta that doesn't burn gas and I put in a little less than half tank the other day and spent $30.
I hear you.
So I'm happy I don't drive much for work and that I do have a car that sips gas when I do drive it.
Yeah.
So
I have a crap car. It's a 16-year-old GMC Terrain. I don't drive it much. I'm kind of a homebody, so I don't need to go out a whole lot. But we are seeing, though, there is beginning to be a lot of ripple effects. We're beginning to see the fuel shortages caused by the overseas geopolitical events. We're beginning to see that. And so this is an example of why travel is never just kind of set it and forget it. You book your trip and forget it. There are always pieces behind the scenes that travelers don't see but absolutely feel. They
I guess
absolutely
what airlines are starting to encounter is depending on what part of the world they're in, where they're starting to feel the crunch of the lack of fuel,
Mhm.
they might be able to fly there from the US, but how they're refueling to fly back.
There's been supply chain disruptions
Yeah.
due to what's going on. So oil has been trapped in storage facilities in the Middle East, and it's caused jet fuel. What we're seeing our fuel for our cars go up, jet fuel is soaring now. So last
Yeah.
week, the other day before this ceasefire, jet fuel reached $195 a barrel at the end of March. That's $100 more than this time last year.
Yep. And you're going to start to see those airfares climb up to match the fuel cost.
Mhm.
So I'm glad my clients traveling later in the year. I told everybody lock in. I kept telling everybody because of what was going on in the Middle East. I said, you see an airfare now and you're comfortable with it, lock it
Right.
in. Go ahead
So
and buy it. The prices are not going to go down. This year, I only think we're going to see an upward trajectory until they kind of get that figured out. If you know you have to travel later in the year and you get online and you see a good ticket price now, buy it. Don't
yeah,
wait.
don't wait for it to go down if you're comfortable with it, because we're also heading into the summer travel season. And what happens then? Historically, prices go up anyway during peak travels. See a flight and you can live with the price, just book it because don't count on it going down. And now we're seeing beginning to see the effects of not only our prices going up, we've got these fuel shortages. Airlines are beginning to cut back on flights. They're beginning to cancel routes. It's normally right now, it's mostly with the Asian airlines doing the Asian routes, but European airlines are considering as soon as May, they may need to start canceling flights as well. Lufthansa has been coming up with their crisis response. They could ground up to 40 aircraft. Scandinavian Airlines is prepared to cut about 1,000 routes.
Yeah, that's
1,000 flights.
crazy.
I'm sorry, 1,000 flights due to the surge in jet costs. And United has already said that it's going to cut flights in the last 2 quarters of the year.
I saw an interesting clip, and what people don't realize, like an oil tanker moves very slowly, usually between 12 and 15 knots. That's like somebody riding on a bicycle. And then they have to go thousands of miles. So they're saying what we're seeing now, we're not going to see the true full effect for another month because you already had ships in progress going to where they needed to go. The
Mhm.
problem is once those reach there and drop off, there's nothing coming behind them. Like it's a
Right.
constant movement of fuel
Right.
around the world. So we're not really at the point yet where we're really going to see how badly this is going to affect us.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't get those straits open, that part of the world that depends on the oil, they're in trouble. And even if you decide to, even if for some reason like the US or other markets can jump in and supply oil, it's still going to take time for it to get where it needs to go. There's no fast way of moving it. I think we're in for a little bit of a disruption as we move further on in the year. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to clear up rapidly. And as we can see, they can't even seem to hold it together more than 5 hours with a ceasefire. So,
Exactly. So what does this mean? It means if you have flights booked, don't cancel them. Don't start canceling your plans because it's too early for that. But it's a matter of being flexible with your plans. If you have flights booked and there is the possibility they could be retimed, they could be rescheduled or canceled, be rerouted, maybe have aircraft swaps, and you need to just roll with it.
and yesterday I was looking at the DOT rules and regulations because of that course I was taking. And
Hmm.
apparently, it's not that easy for airlines to add on a fuel surcharge to a ticket that's already sold
Right.
and paid for. I think there are some rules and regulations in place that prevent that, but there's nothing to stop them going forward when you're purchasing a new ticket to say, yes, there's a fuel surcharge on these tickets. But
Exactly.
if you already purchased, I don't think they're able to add a fuel surcharge onto already purchased ticket.
I mean, taxes and fees can always change, but there's so many
Yeah.
different types of taxes that go into your airfare and your
Yeah.
flight ticket. Be flexible. This is where working with a travel advisor matters because we're monitoring these changes before you are. So
Yeah.
we know about the issues before you do. I personally like when I fly to book the earliest flight I can out. Unless there is something going on that I can't fly early, I fly early in the day because one, there's less of a domino effect risk. When one flight before you gets canceled, everything else.
I've experienced that many times because I used to fly to New York a lot for work.
Uh,
And then I finally realized, especially during the summer months when a lot of storms roll in to
mm-hmm.
LaGuardia and the JFK area, you want to get out of Florida early in the morning because when I would leave stuff for the afternoon, oh my God, so many times delays and cancellations. So
Yeah.
I'm always now like, you know what, get on the earliest flight in the morning you could tolerate. And that way you're more than likely to get where you're going. As the day progresses, weather, delays, ground stops, all these things start to impact later on in the day. So just get out of there early, get where you're going early.
I mean, I like to do it anyway, so I have that day and I'm not losing that day on my
Yeah.
vacation or wherever I have to go. But also, I like to book it because if for some reason my flight is canceled, I have other options throughout the day.
Yeah,
Also, there
you
are
have
other
time.
flights.
Time gives you flexibility, and
Mhm.
that's what's important.
Avoid tight connections. We've seen it. We've known people who have taken those really tight connections. Even an hour can be a tight connection. One delay, I saw it on a flight a few months ago. Our flight was delayed 45 minutes. People on the plane who had had only an hour connection to begin with missed their flights. You know,
And the thing is, too, with those tight connections, a lot of airlines are pushing these tight connections when you go on their websites. And they're making the tight connection more enticing by also making the flights slightly less expensive.
hmm
And they're doing all kinds of things. I don't understand why they're encouraging these tight connections because the majority of times the connection cannot happen, right? The airline is so out of control with things like, okay, let's say you're flying back from Jamaica and you're going to New York, but you have a stop in Miami. You're
hmm
going to clear customs and immigration in Miami. Immigration and customs in Miami is notorious for
hmm
being inconsistent with the speed at which you can traverse getting through there when you land. So it's like people be like, yeah, I did a 45 minute connection. You're not making it, right?
Yeah. And
So and
flight
people are always
airline.
like, 3 hours seems so long. And I'm like, it's actually not. I said, by the time you land, you clear customs and immigration, you walk around or you find where your next gate is, you decide to sit down and have something to eat. Before you know it, you're on your next flight. So I'm like a 3 hour layover person.
Oh, I'm a long layover person as well. And airlines call these connections. They're connections that they put together. And even if they're a 45-minute connection, airlines call it a legal connection, meaning in their opinion, they'll schedule the flights that way and you should be able to make it. No, just because the airlines
We
make
did one going to Hawaii, and it saved a lot of money, and I knew the connection was going to be tight in Atlanta. And Atlanta airport is so big. We
Mhm.
were literally the last two people to get on the plane. Like they knew we were coming from the other gate because they know they do track these, and Delta's really good with that.
Mhm.
But we had to book it across that airport to get on the plane. Sat down. Luckily, it was the 767 to do the transcontinental to LA. So we had two seats, it was
Yeah.
232 or 242 or whatever. So we got on the plane, relaxed, had a great flight. Now, our connection in LA was a little bit longer, so we were able to sit and eat lunch. The crazy part is the more direct route would have only saved us about an hour in total travel time, and
Really.
the ticket was way more expensive. And
Mhm.
we actually didn't mind having the break in the flight because you got off, you stretched your legs. I think LA to Honolulu is like 5.5 hours or something. So it
Yeah, it's
broke
5
it
hours.
up where you weren't sitting on the plane for as long. So look at all these things when you're booking your flights too. I'm not afraid of a stopover, a layover. If I have the time or I can plan in the time for it, it doesn't really bother me to do that.
So we're avoiding tight connections. When you're booking your flights, build a buffer for important events. So if you're going on a cruise, you're going on a tour, fly in the day before. If you have a special event you're going to, a wedding, fly in advance. Do not wait until the day of to fly because
The day
anything
of, especially for cruises,
you're
because
tempting fate. If you fly in
yeah,
that day, you're tempting fate. You're like,
yeah.
no, don't do it.
Even if you tell yourself, "Oh, I'm leaving on a flight that's 5 o'clock in the morning, and
Mm,
I'm going to get there by 10 or 11," what happens if the flight leaves 2 hours late?
mhm,
Then you're not getting there by 10 or 11. Then you're going crazy. You rush into the cruise port, panicking you're not going to get on the ship. No, just build in time. Build in
exactly.
a day. It's nice to, especially for you guys that fly. I mean, I live in this area, so I don't need to do the flying in.
Mhm,
But even when we did river cruises, I always pad in days prior.
mhm.
It's nice to get there, acclimatize, get a good night's sleep in a hotel before you get going on your vacation.
I like to sail out of, New Jersey, Cape Liberty, so that's an easy drive, and sometimes we do
Yeah,
drive it in the morning, but I've been known to also go up, stay in the city, stay in New York overnight, just,
yeah.
and start the vacation a little early. So if you can, do that. Budget, that this is all part of your budget when you're creating your travel budget. And
So,
again
as we just reinforced, the main takeaway from this is the planning, the
mhm,
timing, and that right now, if you have to travel later in the year and you see prices on flights that you are comfortable with, book the flights right now. Actually, it's not even about being comfortable with it. If it's you see a certain price, book it
yeah.
because we don't know what's going to happen later in
Wait,
the year.
I mean, go under the assumption if you go on right now and look up flights that you need for later in the year, that price that you see is probably gonna be the lowest you're gonna see for a while.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
under that assumption.
Definitely.
Travel is, I guess, contractual. We sign contracts with our tourist operators, with our airlines, but it is unpredictable as well. It is never, as with life, it is never an easy road. So just
So,
do that.
just as it is, it's all about planning, having people help you plan
Yeah,
and making sure that you can keep.
flexibility is greater than the cheapest price.
Yep,
Cheapest price
definitely.
is not always. Remember, you get what you pay for
Yep, that's
sometimes.
for sure.
Mhm.
So this one's kind of good for you because it's closer to your neck of the woods. Norwegian Cruise Lines is coming to Philadelphia.
It is. So, like, you are so lucky because you live in Florida. You have within hours, you have tons of ports. You've got Miami and Fort Lauderdale right near you. Then you've got, Orlando and Tampa. I mean, with just in mere hours. So you're lucky. For us up here, it's not as
You're
convenient.
limited, yeah.
We're limited. So, like, I'm in Maryland, so we've got Baltimore, and I'm gonna be honest, the ships that sail out of Baltimore are nothing special, all that great. But a few hours north, we can go to Cape Liberty in New Jersey, where Royal Caribbean has amazing ships out of there. Or there's also
MSC has great ships out of there.
out of
Everybody
New
seems to
York,
put
because
nice
MSC
ships
is
out
out of
of New York. Yeah.
just go right, a mere hop, skip, and a jump away, and you've got New York. But now we've got Philadelphia, which is a great option for between Baltimore and New Jersey, New York. Norwegian's going to be sailing two ships, the Jewel and the Pearl. They're going to be doing 5-night itineraries to Bermuda, New England, Canada, and down to the Caribbean. It launches this month. So it is a fantastic option for people that want to travel in the Middle Atlantic coast, cruise close to home. We don't have to deal with those flights.
And what's great about it is Philadelphia is such a great compact city with so much to do that actually arriving there a day or two before you cruise, if you have time, for people who
Oh my
decide to
God,
cruise out of there and are not from
amazing.
the area, there's a lot of stuff to do and see in the area. So
And it's got a fantastic food scene, so
yeah,
so it's definitely worth, if you're not from the area, to go a day early. But if you're from the area, I mean, it is so easy to drive there from here, from Maryland, from where I am. It's like, what,
yeah,
2.5 hours at the most?
that's
So
nothing.
convenient. So convenient.
I mean, it's crazy here in Florida, though, that within 3 hours of me, or maybe a little bit more, I could sail out of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Port Canaveral, or even Tampa.
And
So it's like,
you've got such a variety of itineraries because from
yeah,
here we've got Bermuda, New England, Canada. The longer ones we do is some Caribbean, but it's usually the Bahamas from this area.
yeah,
If you see a Caribbean sailing, it's a longer one, but it's usually the standard Bahamas with a stop in Port Canaveral. Sailing down to Orlando is not the greatest, but whatever. Some things to know because they're launching and they're sailing this month. For anyone that is booked on one of those ships out of Philadelphia, something to know is they're still doing construction on the terminal. There's going to be off-site check-in for the cruises at the Clarion Philadelphia Airport.
that's interesting.
They have a ballroom there, and they're setting up
Okay.
all the check-in and luggage drop-off there. Then guests will be able to get onto shuttles and go to the cruise port where they will then go through their security screening. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Do they
So
have like a time frame for when the cruise terminal is supposed to be complete?
I don't know yet. I haven't heard. So just be patient. So for those that might be
I
sailing
would
out of
like to do that just to see how the whole thing works.
I'm
Like,
curious. And then getting off, it's kind of a mirror because then getting off, you will be
I will
transported.
definitely be walking off with my luggage in that situation and not waiting for it because I can imagine, no, the coming off, that's got to be
Yeah,
problematic.
because
Like,
then you'll get shuttles back to the Clarion where
Clarion,
you leave your car or back to, to the airport or
yeah.
whatever you need.
I think
I
their
would,
assumption is a lot of people are going to be driving in. But I would think for people who are flying in to do that, yeah, that's going to be a little bit problematic.
and I can honestly say it's a situation where I would be very tempted to walk my luggage onto the ship. One thing to leave your luggage with the porters at the port to be
Uh,
loaded onto the ship.
Now you're leaving it at a hotel off-site, and that has to
Exactly.
get to where it's going. Yeah.
So that's a situation. So if you're on one of these first sailings out of Philadelphia, just be patient there with that. This is a temporary situation, but we don't know how long.
Yeah, how long is temporary? That's the question.
I mean, it's not forever. I don't know how far
I
along
I
they are.
think I'd be nervous to do that if I had to be honest with you. That setup would have me a little trepidatious about doing it.
That word, where'd
Um,
you get that word from?
so I don't know if I would want to sail with them right now if that's the situation. But like I said, I feel like almost like I need to go take a cruise just to see how the whole thing
The whole
works.
thing works. I'd like to see
Yeah.
what it's like to sail out of
Go with my
Philadelphia.
knapsack and a carry on to make sure I have everything with me and I don't need to leave it behind, but
Yep,
then just observe what's the whole process
the
is would
whole
be interesting.
the whole process. Yeah, it is
That's a
interesting.
lot logistically to do.
And then I have to wonder, so then you've got this hotel that has all these cruise passengers, a few thousand cruise passengers trekking through the hotel to check in. I'm
Won't
sure
be
they pay.
staying in that hotel either. I mean, unless you're coming in, and I think they've probably arranged offsite parking at this Clarion. Maybe it like is like a Clarion with a convention center. I don't know, and it has lots of parking and space. So maybe it's kind of like offsite parking is going to be there, and I don't know. We would have to definitely look into this one a little bit more.
We'll keep you all updated. You have been so pleased with yourself the past few days because you got your VTA certification, your Verified Travel Advisor certification
I'm
through
very happy. I
APTA.
was feeling a little salty. All the rest of you had done it, and I hadn't done mine yet. But I would be honest with you, it was a monetary thing, and I waited to see till we got a bigger discount towards doing it because I was not about to pay more than I needed to until a discount came out. So when a lot of y'all did it a while ago,
Mhm.
I don't know why I chose not to do it at that point. But I'm happy. Like I put aside my time and I did it, and it was very, very interesting. And my feeling is, because I've been doing this is my 9th year. My feeling is this is something I would have benefited a lot more from had somebody told me to do this when I first began. Because they went into a lot of legal stuff, a lot of the things about setting up your business, about making sure you have all the right insurances, and then a whole section on just different rules and regulations from the Department of Transportation, a whole section on ethics, which was very interesting because even though something may be legally all right, it doesn't mean that it's ethically acceptable,
I
you
think
know?
every travel advisor needs to do that. I think this course,
Yeah,
the DTA course certification, is probably the gold standard of certifications
yeah,
because of what it covers. And I firmly believe it's something that all travel advisors should be required to take. Now, we talked a lot about training and certifications on the last episode. We're doing it now. Why is that? People are probably wondering, why is that? Because let's be honest, travel advisors are a dime a dozen. We are everywhere. If you go on, someone goes onto their local community board and they start asking, I need a travel advisor, for the Caribbean, for Europe, whatever, everyone's going to crawl out of the woodwork. And then
yeah.
you're stuck wondering, well, how do I choose the right one for me?
So there's a lot of different ways to do training. So
Mhm.
you have ASTA, which is the American Society of Travel
Advisor.
Advisors, and they've been around for 85 years. They're well established. They work all aspects of travel. So they help travel advisors, tour operators. They kind of cover everything under the umbrella. They've been around for a long time. They're the ones that advocate for us in Washington, D.C. and stuff. So they're a very well established organization, right? And they have a lot of things in place to hold us accountable as travel agents, which is kind of what I like.
We're going on about this because there are certain certifications out there. You're going to see travel advisors, and you might go onto someone's website, and I'm guilty of this. I do this too, and you're going to see
Yeah.
all kinds of certifications and specializations. Jamaica travel specialist. You're going to see, certified Hawaii specialist. We're like a
All the
Marriott
courses, yeah.
specialist.
All
The
the
Marriott.
courses are not created equally.
Well, I think
Like,
the point is though, you're going to see travel advisors and they're going to have all this like this whole laundry list of certifications and
yeah,
specialization. The Marriott travel specialist, the sandals and
yeah,
beaches. Let me tell you, and it's great that travel advisors should be doing those trainings and should
yep,
be keeping up with those products, but they don't require a monetary commitment. They don't
yep.
require much time commitment. The certifications we're talking about, like the verified travel advisor, what is it, the CTA, the certified, is it?
And the CTA, I had to get proxied when I took
Yeah,
my
that's
exam.
agents who have taken the steps. You see these letters beyond their name. They're not just letters after a name. They require ongoing education. They require industry testing. They require real world experience. And so you've found an agent that has gone above and beyond what is necessary for them.
Because now I'm telling you, like, I am getting bombarded by Fora. And yeah, you can be a travel agent while still holding your job. Here's my issue with that. This job is more than just booking our clients. And we've been doing it long enough to know that. I don't just book you and then set you free. You don't do the same thing either. There's a huge component of this job that is managing your clients' trips and making sure everything goes smoothly. I'm not saying you cannot work a full time job and do this. There are people capable of it, right? But a lot of it is going to come down to what type of travel it is you're selling,
And
I
what kind of
think.
travel advisor do you want to be to your client?
Yeah,
Because you know what,
yeah,
something when there is something goes wrong with your client's vacation, it's not necessarily happening, outside of your work hours because
yeah.
life does not care what you are doing.
So, what are you going to do if you're at work and this emergency arises and you can't handle the emergency? You can't get to the phone. I think there's a lot of marketing and pushing being done that's kind of encouraging access into this market by telling people they're going to be traveling for free and all the benefits of being an agent. And I think a lot of people getting involved with it are focusing on the wrong aspects of what this job really entails and are just looking for benefits that are derived from this job. Now, many of us that derive benefits from this job is because we've earned those benefits. And how do we earn those benefits? By showing suppliers that we are promoting, selling, and constantly bringing business to their products. You know, like when I go to like events, and the first thing I hear agents asking these people is, "Do you have an agent rate?" Do you know I never ask that question when I go to events? Never. It's not even part of what I'm talking about. I'm there to learn about what you do and sell. If it happens to be something that I think I can sell or I'm going to sell, or did I then end up selling it, then maybe at that point I might be like, maybe I need to experience this, but there's no expectation that I'm going to get anything for free.
No, I don't do anything with that expectation. If I do get something like that, a discount, a bonus, something
Yeah.
free, a fam trip, that's a bonus. But those of us that have actually taken the time to go through these comprehensive training programs, such as the VTA, the CTA, you also have, I think, your ACC,
I have the
coupon,
ACC.
the accredited cruise counselor. It's shown that we've taken the initiative, so we understand our supplier contracts and the fine
Yeah.
print. We know what we're looking for. We've learned how to navigate disruptions such as airline issues. We provide through our training vetted recommendations. We know how to advocate for our clients. We know what is ethical. We know what is legal. We
Yeah.
have gone through the regulations, the transportation regulations.
So for instance, like Clea, I went through Clea, I went up to ACC. Going forward with Clea now, yes, there's a huge educational component, but they focus a lot on you actually experiencing the product. So they focus, there's the sales component, there's the educational component, and there's a actually sailing on the cruise lines component.
Right.
And as you move up the level, the expectations is you're going to have more cabins sold a year to qualify for that level. There's going to be more courses that you have to take. And then you have to take a 3-night cruise, a 5-night cruise, a 7-night cruise, and they all have to be on different cruise lines. So there's a huge financial output for some of these programs moving up further, which shows you that the person is dedicated to what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, we could go ahead selling the cruises and not worry with having letters after our name that mostly only people in the industry recognize. Our clients really don't know what they mean, but it shows a certain commitment and just a level of a little bit more professionalism to move through this.
We recognize that, like these letters are after our name, and probably most clients don't really care so much about them. But if you're someone looking for a travel advisor and see someone with these letters, you're getting someone that has gone above and beyond and is truly in the industry to help their clients.
And we're not supposed to keep using these letters if we're not keeping up with our continuing education and
we have to
training.
do that. The VTA every
Yeah,
2
we
years.
have to do VTA, the CTA. And there's different ways we can do education. Like we could earn CEs from doing a cruise line course, and they'll give us a certain amount of points. So there's different stuff because they just want you to keep educated. This is not a stagnant. It's not a stagnant career to be involved in. If you think you're just going to enter at one level and that's where it's going to stay, if you really want to excel, you have to keep up with training, product knowledge, latest trends, different things happen, and you really got to stay on top of it. It's not a case of just booking them.
If you want to stand out amongst the very large pool of advisors in your area, it's absolutely necessary. You want to stand out and be above the rest. That sounds a little egotistical, but it is what it is. So what kind of trends, what are you seeing right now what are people liking to do? What are people asking for with you?
I'm seeing a lot more people asking for Caribbean cruises because of what's going on the other side of the world. I think there is a huge pullback on people booking the Mediterranean and going deeper into Eastern Europe. Anywhere that they are in their mind is closer to where whatever thing is happening is going on. I feel like people are shimmying their way west with their plans.
Even if they looked at a map, things aren't as close as they.
No, no. We're not saying there's any sense in what's happening here.
No, but that's
I have a very good client of mine now. She was a little concerned about going to Croatia. They're there now and she's having a great time and she's happy she went. But they're older and I don't blame them. They were a little concerned, but I work with a great company there and she sent me a message today and said, "Oh my God, everything's been fabulous. The drivers, the guides, just really top notch organized." So they feel safe because they know they have people looking out for them. They're at Medjugorje today for like 2 nights and a day. So I told her make sure and say a prayer for me and for the whole planet. If she's there praying, I'm not a big prayer. You know, that to me, it's people still want to travel, but they're definitely being a little bit more cautious about where they're traveling to.
So I'm not seeing that right now. So I'm
Yeah.
seeing people are still trying, but I'm seeing people wanting a little more, getting a little more creative in their travel. So it's not enough to go say, like I've said before, most of what I do is Europe. So people aren't just saying, I'm going to go to France, I'm going to go to Paris and see the major sites.
Yeah.
People are getting a little more creative, a little more specific in their travel. For example, I have clients that specifically wanted a Band of Brothers World War II tour. So
Yeah.
they're going to be going throughout Normandy and then going to Belgium to the Battle of the Bulge site and then ending in Germany. Very specific sites there. I just got a request. I have not talked to the
That's not a
client.
vacation for me, but I know
Um,
to each their own.
well, and the thing is, I do feel because three people in the family are really into that, and
Yeah.
the wife, I think she's not so much into all of it,
And
but she's going
she's
along.
having a tag along. Oh, yeah.
But it'll be really interesting for the history buffs. But so I'm
Yeah.
seeing that, and then I just got a request client. I've not talked to them yet. They want to go to a Krampus festival in Germany or Austria. You know what that is?
Krampus is like the
So Krampus
Christmas.
is supposedly accompanies Saint Nicholas, and while Saint Nicholas rewards the good kids, Krampus
Krampus
is
is
like,
like the bad one. Yeah.
yeah, and that's
Okay.
like a thing over there, and they have these Krampus festivals. So
Well,
that's the
you need to
first
let me know what you find about the Krampus festivals when
that's
you
the
start
first
working
thing.
on this.
Like it's big in Bavaria. Yeah, I'm interested in this one because that's an absolute first. But people are getting
Yeah.
more creative and specific in what they want. It's not just enough to go to a country and see the major tourist sites.
And then I know a lot of agents were starting about worrying about AI being an issue when it comes to your planning, and clients are going to just switch over to AI. For me personally, I haven't really experienced that. I mean, what I do have is clients may come to me and they'll use it for an outline. They kind
Right.
of go and they feed into these are the kind of things I want to do. And then they'll come to me with an outline, which I have to be honest with you, we've talked to this before on another podcast. I don't mind when they do that. It saves me a lot of trying to fish and find and pull out of them what it is they want to do when they come and give me this and go, okay, because they've obviously put some thought into it. They're
Right.
not just feeding stuff into the AI and letting it
No, it's
vomit out whatever. So I think it's a cool tool. It's been
it
helping me with working with my clients.
it has its place. It
Yeah.
has its place, and it is a good tool to come up if you're really kind of unsure. You know you want to go to a specific destination, you're not entirely sure of what you want to do or where to
Yeah.
go once you're there. And then we work through it because it might not actually, because AI is not perfect, and it's not, and it sometimes it comes
Yeah,
with
some of the
unrealistic
models are not pulling the most up to date information.
right.
And that information is kind of hidden in the fine print on their websites. So you might pull up something and it may be pulling in information from 2 years ago. Some are better than others. So what you have to do is, even if you're using that for your outline, you then need to go and dig further. You
Right.
need to go look for more. You need to then go into your Google search and say, okay, let me look at Gariscon in France or whatever, and what's the latest happening. You have to go further. It's a good
Yeah.
way of getting you started and in the right direction. A friend of mine used it to plan out his flights and everything going to, I think they're in Hong Kong right now. And he sent it to me. He said, look what this did with the prompts for the flight. It was amazing. He's computer savvy and
Right.
tech savvy. So not everybody is going to have the same experience interacting with the AI.
So we're seeing that. So AI, I'm seeing a lot of AI, a lot of, more custom creative travel. We've spoken about this a lot. but
Yeah.
when we're big fans of it, shoulder season travel, more
Yep.
and more people are traveling shoulder season,
They're going to
especially
make the shoulder not a shoulder anymore if they continue like this. Because if
yeah,
everybody starts traveling in the shoulder season,
but
then what's the season we're going to have to look for? If everybody starts going in the shoulder
for
season,
right
we're,
now, it's still the shoulder season, so
we're going to need the knee season, the ankle season. Like, we're going to have to find another season to travel in because people are wising up. Pricing is better, availability is better, less crowds. Like, I've seen my clients' pictures from Croatia, and they're there obviously the end of March, beginning of April. I told my mom and dad, as much fun as we had on the cruises doing them, I said, I would love to go and do a land tour of Croatia where we self drive and everything. But definitely, I would go at this time of the year that she's there.
mhm,
She's at like Krika Falls and
mhm,
has a picture with no people in it with them. That's like impossible during certain times of the year there.
mhm.
So, and she said the weather's been great. She said temperature wise, great. They've been getting nice sunny days and it's cool. She tells me I couldn't imagine being there when they tell me it gets to 45 degrees Celsius on some days during
July,
the summertime,
yep,
July and August, which is when I've been. And it's no lie, you enjoy those swim stops every day
mhm.
because, well, actually, when you're out on the boat, you don't really feel the heat. When you really appreciate the heat is when you get into the towns and you're walking through certain areas. That's when you really feel the heat. But once you're out on the boat and the boat is moving with the breezes and being near the water, it's really nice. But definitely, I want to go to Croatia in the shoulder season.
We always talk about book early, and that I will always say book as early as you can, but I'm seeing a lot
Yeah,
of closer in travel. And I think
yeah.
it's economic. People are waiting to commit, waiting to start the planning when they know they're financially in a place
Yeah,
to
I
do
got a call today for a friend group. They obviously got together over the weekend. Now everybody wants to do a short cruise out of Miami, no more than 5 nights. They asked me for Celebrity. Celebrity is not going to work. Like the shortest they have is on the Reflection for 6 nights. And I said, Virgin Voyages, they're the 5 night cruise queens. They have a lot of 5 night voyages, and I sent her the pricing, and I'm hopefully the little group is going to come back and book because I got great pricing on a 5 night cruise
when
right
are
now.
they sailing? When?
August, anywhere between August 3rd and 8th. There's two different ones we're looking at. One does Dominican Republic, and the other one does Turks and Caicos. I think if I were to do it, I would do the Turks and Caicos one.
Mm.
I feel like there's a lot more to do on your day there than in Puerto Plata. So we'll see what happens.
And when I say
You know?
closer in travel, like for me, it's like up to 6 months.
Yeah, they're
That
booking now for August if this happens.
yeah,
So
so that's closer in. So I'm seeing a lot of that, and I think it's a lot has to do with, people are deciding they're waiting until they're financially set to plan the trip.
I'm the king of close in. We know last year I did very well on close in travel with people calling me because as much as it stresses me, I make it happen.
Uh-huh.
But I do prefer when they give us a little bit more time to plan. I won't lie.
But we
So
can do it. But if you want closer
yeah.
travel, we can do it within reason. I mean, don't come to us and say, you're looking for a trip to Europe next week.
So we've covered a lot today, and there's a lot for you to think about. We hope we keep giving you all pertinent information and keep it entertaining.
to just remember travel is dynamic. It means flexibility. Fuel issues right now, we're having some issues. Fuel issues are just one example, but that's what we're here for. There's always new opportunities with travel arising, such as now we're sailing out of Philadelphia, things like that. Travel, there's always something new.
And then who you book with matters as much as what you're booking.
Hmm.
So you make sure you have somebody that you trust and that you feel comfortable with. A travel purchase is probably after like a house and a car. I think people spend a lot of money on travel when it comes in that hierarchy of things. So that's why, and I'll emphasize this again, it baffles me that there's no official, like in real estate, there's like no official
Right.
course for people to take.
It's a
I
commitment.
even said that ASTA course could be perfect for a state level certification because it reminded me a lot of when I did my real estate
Yeah.
course.
I
So
think it's the perfect course. It would be the perfect course for some sort of national or unified
yeah.
certification. If you like what you're hearing and you like what you're seeing, now that we're also on YouTube, we're very proud of that fact. Hit subscribe and let us know what you think as well. And on that note, we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Check Bags and Big Tags. When you're ready to book your next dream vacation, be sure to contact your local trusted travel advisor. If you liked what you heard today and want to hear more travel tips and tricks, be sure to hit subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Check Bags and Big Tags. And if you have any questions about travel or topics you want to hear, just send us an email at checkbagsandbigtags@gmail.com. Thank you again for tuning in, and until next time, keep dreaming big and chasing those unforgettable adventures.
Live radio, local podcasts, the Frederick Podcast Network at listenfrederick.com.